Hello everybody, my name is Blue and we're finally back doing another speed build on the Kurak Educational Park. It's been quite a while since I've been doing another speed build for this zoo, but this episode in particular we are doing the Black Rhinoceros, and actually it's a double whammy since we're doing the Addax as well. Or is it Addax? Actually I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Addax, Addax. Let me know, I don't know, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a double whammy since we're doing both animals from the Arid animal pack, mostly since I have to kind of catch up a bit since I've not been doing this suit, updates on the suit for quite a while. So I thought I'll just do a double enclosure build, since then we can do more in one episode. So then there's only 3 more to go, I think, after this. So yeah, 3 more of the pack. Obviously there's many default game animals I can fit in this zoo. Kurak Educational Park, we are adding a Black Rhinoceros, and actually originally I was only going to do the Black Rhinoceros, but I kind of made this enclosure so big that I split it in 2. So yes, it will be a split enclosure. They won't share an enclosure, mostly because the Addax does not share any territory with the Black Rhinoceros, since the Addax are more North African and the Black Rhinoceros, at least the one that we have, it's more south of Africa. So I mean, you could put them together realistically, probably. Although, you know, rhinoceros are also a bit territorial a lot of the time, so maybe not the greatest idea. But nonetheless, I chose to keep them separate, but have a bridge in the middle, so you can see both animals from the same bridge, basically by looking left or right. Depending on which side of the bridge you're coming from, obviously. But yeah, the rhino will have the bigger half, and the Addax or Addax will have the smaller half, since it is a smaller animal. Let's talk a bit about the actual DLC again. That's what we do every single episode, talking about the DLC I'm building the animals for. Since this is about the Arid animal pack, I will give my opinion about the Black Rhinoceros and the pack in general. I've given my opinion a couple of times about the pack, so let's talk about the Black Rhinoceros. I think it is a great model. I think it's one of the better models we have in the game, and I've said this a lot, and that is simply because every single time Frontier releases a pack, they make a better model. So every single time I have to say that it's probably one of the better models in the game, because it is. And when it comes to the pack, I think it's also one of the better models in the pack, together with the Porcupine. I think those two are probably on top when it comes to, well, quality. I mean, they're all quality, because I must admit the Dromeary Camel is quite high up there as well. But yeah, it's just because of the wrinkles in the skin and all those textures you have that really makes the Black Rhinoceros look like a real rhinoceros, which is super impressive. When it comes to the choice of animal, I probably would have gone for something more interesting. It's just that we have a Indian... No, is it in? Yeah, we have an Indian rhinoceros, and we have the southern... Is it the southern? Yeah, because the northern one's extinct in the wild, so we have the southern white rhinoceros. So, do we need a third rhinoceros species? I personally think we do not. But a lot of other people disagree with me. They really enjoy the Black Rhinoceros, and I do as well. I really enjoy the Black Rhinoceros as an animal. It's just not one I will be using a lot. I don't really use rhinos in general a lot in my zoo build, since I like my smaller, more weird looking animals. Obviously, I can't blame it, that's my personal opinion. But when it comes to rhinoceros species, it's not even my favourite one, since the northern white rhinoceros, which is the one we kind of got with the southern one, obviously I get it, since the northern one is basically extinct in the wild. So, but the white rhinoceros is my favourite rhinoceros species. So we already got that one in the Africa pack, and I was happy with that. Now we got another one which I didn't really ask for, but I do know a lot of you did ask for the Black Rhinoceros, even back when we got the Africa pack, and a lot of people wished we had the Black Rhinoceros instead of the White Rhinoceros. So for those people, I guess this is great. We finally got a Black Rhinoceros. And I'm not going to complain that we got them, because to me, every single animal is a great addition. There's no excuse to not add an animal, right? Like, this could have added any species of animal from the arid biomes, and I would have been happy with it since it's another animal. How can you complain, right? It's just that it's not my most excited animal. It's not the animal I'm most excited about when it comes to animals to be excited about. But yeah, it's great building an enclosure for it. It's something different since it's quite a big animal. I tend to stay away from big animals since I don't really enjoy doing really big enclosures. But ironically, I actually went too big with the enclosure. That's why I added the Addax as well. And it was a good excuse to add the Addax and actually speed up the process of this zoo. So now we only have to do the Dromeary, the Porcupine, and then obviously the Somali Wild Ass. Actually, also one of my favorites in this pack. I really love having a wild donkey, which is something completely new in the game. But yeah, when it comes to the Rhinoceros, it's a good model. It's a very popular animal, definitely. Not my favorite, but I'm glad it's added. And when it comes to the Addax, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the Addax is from Sudaikun 2 as well, I think, or was it Sudaikun 1? I think just for that reason, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good that they've added it, since I know a lot of you, and including me, really enjoy when they add animals from the predecessors, I guess. So it's nice to see some Sudaikun 2 animals being added to Planet Zoo as well. And I think the Addax is one of the last ones. It was Sudaikun 2. There's not many more animals left, I think. But I must admit, I'm not sure if it actually is the Addax, since when I used to play Sudaikun when I was younger, it was always, I got the Dutch edition of the zoo, of the game. And in Dutch, actually, it's quite funny. The animal I'm thinking of, which I assume is the Addax, is for some reason the only animal that didn't translate into Dutch, but instead of just keeping the English name, it's just nameless. There's just no word for it. So I always thought, wow, this animal has no name. That's always what I thought about the Addax, or I think that is what the Addax is. I'm not sure, it just looks the same, so I assume it is the Addax. But yeah, I've always seen the, like, when I used to play the game, it was the first in the alphabet in the animal roster in Sudaikun 2, since it was nameless. It was just blank. Maybe it was the edition I got, maybe it's something wrong with my computer. If you are Dutch and you happen to have the Dutch translation of Sudaikun 2, or if you have Sudaikun 2 and you want to try it out yourselves and set your computer or your game into Dutch and see it for yourselves, or maybe I'm just wrong, you can check if the animal is actually nameless. It's quite funny because Advac was obviously number 2 in the list, being normally the first word in the dictionary, having 2 A's obviously. But yeah, the Addax was always number 1 in the alphabetic order, since it was just blank. There was no word. It was just an empty box, which was weird. So yeah, I thought, wow, I can't believe the game added an animal that hasn't even been named yet. Obviously not knowing that it was a translation error from the developer's point of view. But anyway, that's the Addax. Backstory of how I know the Addax, at least. If that is actually the animal that I'm talking about. As I said, it's nameless, I don't know. But my opinion about the Addax in game, probably one of my least favorite of the pack, since it's like any other gazelle-like animal. Obviously, they're not all gazelle, but you know what I mean. The ones with the horns on their heads. They're all relatively similar. The main difference is their general size and shape of the horns. But they have a very, very, very similar body plan. And you could argue, you know, what about the big cats? What about the canines? What about the bears? They all have a similar body plan, if not even more similar, since they don't have horns that look different. And I guess that's a very good argument. I can't really argue about that. It's just that I think bears and canines and felines, on that matter, are more unique to me than the hooved animals, the ungulates. And, well, there are like a handful of different ungulates, right? So I think there's I can distinguish them between, you know, you have the goats, or like the caprids, I think it's called, the caprids. not sure. My scientific naming is not always on point. But yeah, all the goats and sheep-like ungulates. Then you have all the horse-like ungulates, which is donkeys, wild horses, domestic horse, zebras as well. And then you have the more antelope. I describe it as the antelope-like ungulates, which is basically the Addax, the gazelles, you know, all of those very similar looking, all the ones with the horns on their heads. Those are like the African ones, basically, yeah. Because obviously there's many groups. You have deers, obviously, you can't get those. You have rhinoceros, they are ungulates, and they're quite a unique ungulate, really. And they are closely related to horse. So you have camels, which are also in this pack, so that's very nice as well. But it's mostly those that I find to be the least interesting ones. The goat-like, the gazelle-like, and the horse-like. It's nice to have one or two or maybe three of each, but then to me personally, it feels to be more repetitive, especially the gazelle ones. Like I can understand the horses since they are more unique, since you don't really have, like, you don't really, I guess, a lot of people don't notice that there's a lot of wild, you know, donkey species, which then I really appreciate they add donkey species. And don't get me wrong, I'm ranting a long time about ungulates right now. I just want to get my point across, and I want to just make sure that you know that I don't dislike ungulates, okay? I don't dislike any animal. I love all animals. I think the Addax or Addax is a very unique animal. It's just that all the animals that we do have, it's the ungulates that least excite me, okay? They're just the least exciting. They tingle my excitement nerves the least, if that makes any sense. But still, I welcome them with open arms. I love them. It's just I prefer the more special, unique looking ones. The more, like, I love carnivores. I love all the rodents. You know, they're all great. But anyway, also reptiles. Obviously, I'm a big fan of reptiles. The Afrotherians, they're quite cool as well. And if you don't know what an Afrotherium is, I can't even pronounce the word myself. It's a very special group of African animals, which kind of are very diverse because of well, really early on in African mammalian evolution, where Africa was completely isolated as a huge continental island. And these Afrotheriums got the chance to really diverge into different body plans. So, just to give an example, Afrotheriums are, for example, the very famous African elephant, or well, all elephant species, obviously, but also the Advac. The Advac's also an Afrotherium. I think those are the only two that we have in game, since the other notable mention is the dugong and the manatee. And also, actually, yeah, there's actually a handful of, like, I think there's a mole-looking, I can't really remember the names, but there's a mole-looking Afrotherium, which is not a mole, but as I said, they're taking these niches that are up to grabs. So a lot of body plans of the Afrotheriums look like other body plans that we know of, like moles and otters. There's one that really resembles the body plan of an otter as well. And stuff like that. But yeah, those are very interesting clades and groups of animals, in my opinion. And basically all of that was basically just to say why the ungulates are my least favourite. But not unliked, okay? Just remember that. It's very important that you remember that. I love all animals, okay? It's very important. And I love the Addax, I love the Black Rhinoceros. It's just that when I see a pack of a Tasmanian devil, I will be 1,000 times more excited than seeing a pack with yet another gazelle-like looking species. Which, you know, it's fair, right? Now that I've talked a long time, and I hope I haven't bored you with my opinion on ungulates, we've seen a lot of updates to this little speed build that I'm showing you, and actually, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this already, but it's inspired by a actual real-life zoo. It's from the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens. It's more specifically inspired by the Rhino Savannah, and if you search it, if you Google it, you'll see the very clear resemblance, and it may look like plagiarism. It's very close when it looks like, if you look at the general shape of it, it's basically a copy of the shape of the enclosure, but I put my own twist on it, and I gave it my own little, I guess, design. But this enclosure that I took inspiration from the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens also has this big bridge that goes over the guest path. I assume that the rhinos can walk over. In my zoo, they can't. I imagine that they can open it up if necessary, but mostly the bridge is closed off, so the rhinos and the Addax can't cross paths, basically. Same under the bridge, under the human bridge, there is a little tunnel that connects two enclosures, but there's also a barrier there as well, just to keep them at bay. And then there's a tunnel that goes under the animal bridge, so you can get to the other side of the bridge as well. And we're nearing the end. I'm going to make, I'm going to build a quick a shade, I guess, a nice little shade, so you can sit in the shadow whilst enjoying these beautiful animals, the Addax and the Black Rhinoceros. And then we'll do some more polishing, some more plants and stuff. Not a lot, I think, but a bit more details, I guess. And I've done a couple of things off camera as well that you will see during the real-time walkthrough at the end of this exhibit, of this video, sorry. So definitely stay till the end so you can see this quick zoo tour of this enclosure as well. But that is all I wanted to talk about for now. I've talked about ungulates mostly. This was the ungulate episode, I guess. Well, there's 2 more ungulates to go actually, so I may rant a bit more about ungulates. But I don't want to, like, I've said it like 3 or 4 times before in this video, and I'm going to say it one more time again. I don't want to give you guys the idea that ungulates are bad, okay? I don't want to give you the idea and spread the idea that ungulates are boring, because they aren't. Ungulates are important, and especially any ungulate species deserves equally as much love as any other species ever, since every species is equally as important in any ecosystem, and in any zoo for that matter as well. And yeah, any conservation efforts should be respected towards any animal. That includes ungulates, even though it may not excite you as much as, for example, a bear or a lion. They are important, okay? They're important animals, and I don't want to give you the idea that they're boring, because they are not boring. And that's the last I'm going to say about ungulates, and I'll see you at the end of this video when I'll do a quick walkthrough. Alright, so here we are. We'll do a quick tour of the enclosure. I won't let you wait too long because, you know, you've seen most of it during the speed build, but I've added some small things. So yeah, as you know, there's a view over here at the bridge right next to the mosque. You can also go into the mosque, into this bit of the mosque, and have a look at the rhinos. And, well, this one's having a poo right in front of us. Very, very nice. But yeah, have a really good view of the rhinos, especially if they come up close like this and take a poo right in front of you. And as I said before, and as you have seen, the rhinos are right next to the Dama Gazelle enclosure, which, now that you compare them, the Dama Gazelle enclosure is quite small in comparison, but they are also smaller animals, so, you know, it's fair, I guess. Now, this is where the best view is on the bridge, but first we'll have a look on the other side. We'll pass by these 2 people, and we'll have a look at what we can find here. Obviously, you know already, because I've told you before, and you've seen a speed build. But what we can find here is the Addax, or Addax, or however you want to pronounce it. And this is probably one of the better views. You can see the whole enclosure in its entirety. And yeah, there's one right there near the gate, near the habitat gate. Or obviously a property, it's not an actual habitat gate, unfortunately. But yeah, and then there's 2 having a nice little snack down there. And there's some in the distance there as well. And they love to run around and stuff like that. It's very cool. Now let's go actually between the two enclosures so we get the best experience of these enclosures. So there's a big pond for the rhinoceros. And the rhinos, oh, it seems like all three of them are right back there. We'll get over there in a bit, but for now we'll look at the Addax on the other side, or Addax, I still don't know how you pronounce it really. And this is a very good view since the barrier is quite low, although I don't recommend crawling over the barrier and falling in, so maybe I should add some more security and maybe make the glass a bit taller. But yeah, I think this is quite a good view. And you can see the little pond where they can have a play in as well, a kind of a small oasis or however you want to call it. And their shelter in the back. Now if you turn around again, we can have another view, but it seems like the rhinos have gone inside over there. They're not coming out to say hello at the moment, unfortunately. There's a nice rhinoceros sign under this shade. And on the other side there should be a Addax sign. Very cool. I've noticed that there's like these lines and stuff. I really like the artistic style of these newer signs we've been getting. Here's another view, again, a bit more from a distance, but you can still see them there. Very beautiful. Love them a lot. And then we'll continue over through the bridge, well, not through the bridge, under the bridge, through the tunnel. Some more signs, the same signs you've seen before. And finally, maybe not the best view, but this is the back side of the enclosure. That's because there will be an enclosure here in the future, that's why there's this hole. Not sure yet which animal, but there will be a animal here, or maybe another feature, maybe a guest area, who knows. That's why this is not really like the main part of the attraction. The actual bridge over there is the main part of the attraction. But let's have a look if you can see any rhinos. I swear if they are back over there, there's a big chance they're inside the shelter, obviously. But if they're back over there, now I have to look. I can't let them hide from me. Let's have a look if they're gone over here. They have. Oh, cheeky buggers. Cheeky. But yeah, there's a good view of the rhinoceros. Really lovely. And they're amazingly textured. Very good model. It's a great addition to the game, really. And I can see the bum of one of them sticking out of the shelter, so I was right there. A couple of them are in the shelter as well. Yeah, this is the Black Rhinoceros and Addax enclosure, quite a big one. I hope you enjoyed the speed builds, and well, if you did, then you can recommend which other animals you'd like to see in the zoo. Maybe you want to watch the other videos of the Grassland Zoo. Well, now it's called the Kurak Educational Park. But yeah, if you want to check those out, you can do that. But now, I'll see you in the next speed build, probably. Bye-bye.